Hi friends, welcome to Botanical Woman. I'm Christine. Today I'm taking you guys on one of my favorite walks. It has been an inspiration for our yard, garden, park, I don't know what you want to call it, but the 2 acres that I'm moving to eventually. It's been a very steep learning curve as outdoor plants are very different from indoor plants. Also, there is a million types of different plants to choose from, so I really had to narrow down my selection, and I think I'm pretty happy with what I've decided. So I wanted to show you guys around, like this is like ground zero where all the inspiration really happened. So let's go. So I really like this plant. I have no idea what the name of it is, but it looks like eucalyptus, and it's not, but I'm gonna have to find out what it is. One of the most inspiring things with this research project of figuring out what kind of plants I wanted was really based on the natural wildlife. So on this plant, which I think it's some kind of Nadina, there are red berries that you can see very clearly, and the birds kind of feed on it for the duration of winter until spring comes. So that's definitely something that I want for our garden. I basically decided that I'm going to dedicate our garden to wildlife. So wherever I can, select plants that have any kind of bearing fruit for the winter time, or some kind of host plant for butterflies or moths. Those are the sort of things that I will be selecting or have been selecting. This is a really cute kind of creeping rosemary bush, which I never really knew existed. And I just love how it kind of cascades down on this rock wall. We don't have a rock wall at the garden right now, but if and when we build one, I would love to have a creeping rosemary bush. Here's another very common plant. I think it's called a cotton Easter. The problem with these two plants is that they need direct sunlight, which is why I've held off on buying them, because on the property that we're gonna move to, direct sunlight doesn't really exist. Okay, let's move over here to this plant. It's really hard to kind of see, but the bark is kind of red. And I can't remember the name of it right now, but it is an evergreen. It likes direct sunlight, and it's kind of wild, like the way it grows. And it's also a coastal plant, so you will find it, in Mediterranean gardens, or, whoa, there's a car coming. Woga, let's go. Yeah, I'll try to put most of the names on the screen later, but that plant is very much a Mediterranean garden vibe, and it's cool. I like how it's just kind of wild and not neat and properly trimmed. And it's an evergreen, so yeah, and the birds love it. It also produces berries, but I forget when, maybe not the winter time, maybe more in the summer. Let's go on. Oh, here's something fun. So another thing that I learned while doing all this research for outdoor gardening is leaving kind of seeds for the birds over the winter and not cutting them down right away. So here you can see the orange seeds from this bulbing plant. It's very pretty, and yeah, it's good to leave it, and the birds will, use it when they need to during the winter. This grass doesn't look like much right now because it's the winter time, but in the summer or in the spring, you can see down here, there's kind of like this really light lime yellow color, and it's really bright. It does well in shaded areas. So this is going to be one of the grasses that I will be considering adding to the landscape. Not sure where yet. Grasses are something that I'm going to do much later on, kind of doing all the trees and shrubs right now. And over there, those are huckleberry bushes, which is native to the Pacific Northwest. However, I don't know if that one in particular is. So behind me is the southern magnolia tree. It is an evergreen tree, and Dan at one point asked me why I wanted this tree, and I described it as my Romeo because I think it's truly beautiful. It has fuzzy brown reddish pubescence under the leaf, and as you can see, there are buds that are going to flower in the spring right now, and they get really red because of the sun, and the leaves are just really big and glossy and gives you a really nice tropical feel to it. So I think it's lovely that we can have it in the Pacific Northwest, because it is actually from the south of the country where it's warmer. I did buy one. I bought a baby one. I'm not sure it's gonna live. It doesn't look so great when I bought it from the nursery. So it was $20. If anything, I guess we'll have to fork out the real bucks and get a real one. Trees are really expensive, like $400 easy. So another really big challenge of having a garden in the Pacific Northwest is how cloudy it is. So these shrubs that you were looking at here are some, what's this called? Box sweets? Sweet box? I don't remember. The words are all like jumbled in my head right now. And that other plant right there that's variegated does really well in shade. And so these are kind of the more boring shrubs that you can have in a deep shade area, because there are these evergreen trees kind of shading it out. But they're not really that boring, because if we take a closer look, there are berries forming, which once again, really good for wildlife. There's some right over here. Looks really good. And these guys also fruit maybe in the spring, maybe not right now. They're very pokey, so actually can be quite good as some form of barricade. Behind me is a great plant to add to your garden if you like the jungle vibe. The leaves are huge. As you can see right now, it blooms in the winter time. And this one in particular is not variegated. There is a variegated version. There's also another one that's like kind of spider version that looks kind of like more spider webby, which I don't love. So I did end up finding a solid green one the other day at the nursery. And prior to that, I did get a variegated one. Also does great in the shade, which is awesome. And yeah, it's just really big and kind of stands on its own. It doesn't really need anything else. So I think it's good to zone 8, which is where I live. Here is another grass that I think looks really cute. When the sun hits it, it really shimmers and shines. It's just like kind of waving gently in the wind, which I think is really cute. It's very tall, so I'm not really sure where I'm going to put it. But first of all, I have to find out what the name of it is, because I don't know. So if you know, let me know. I wanted to show you guys this variegated shrub. Behind me is a classic example of some Pacific Northwest plants. This is a rhododendron, and that is a camellia. And underneath all of that, before I go to the third plant that's underneath these two shrubs, think about how difficult it is for a plant to, I guess, kind of survive with very, very low light. And particularly outdoor plants in general need a lot more light to survive. So this particular plant I absolutely adore, not because it looks particularly great, but I remember in the spring or the summertime, I smelled it before I saw it. And that is Daphnia right there. And it is a shrub that has really fragrant blooms, like I said before, but it also can survive under really, really low light. So these two giant shrubs are kind of casting a shadow under it, and it's still doing great. Obviously, they have to trim this back to allow more light and not completely shade it out, but once it gets established, it's just beautiful and easy to take care of. I haven't gotten it yet because I haven't seen it around, but when I do, I will definitely snatch a couple of those up. So let's go across the street. I want to show you something. So I walked by this house many times now, and I noticed that they put this Norway Pine outside. So instead of a Christmas tree, a lot of places like supermarkets are selling Norway Pines as Christmas trees, which I think is really cool. They are tropical plants, so I'm not sure it's the best idea to have it outside right now, but I would say that it is a good idea to give it a lot more light because it just needs it. A lot of people think it's a low light plant, and it's just not. This house behind me is probably famous somewhere in the world. I would have to guess that this is from more of a Tudor era. The style, the landscaping is very formal, which I do love, but it's not the style that I'll be going for at our house. I'm gonna be doing a more organic and kind of wild, none of these straight edge trims. But this particular house, not only it's beautiful, but I wanted to point out this hedge that is here. It is a native plant. It does really, really great in shade, even though it's getting probably bright sun and it's raining like crazy right now. It has winter berries, it flowers, so it has all the traits that you'd want from a shrub and more. So I really like this plant. It has like pubescence and the leaves are really thick and it's an evergreen. I mean, what more can you ask for? Well, we gotta go home, guys. It's raining really bad. I hope you enjoyed that short segment. I will have many, many more things to say about my gardening adventure as I've been learning loads and loads of stuff. It's so pretty. And yeah, I will see you guys next week.